Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Tuesday Night Live. And if you are joining me from my Facebook group, thank you so much for being here. If you are watching later on IGTV, I appreciate all of you who follow me there as well. So I'm Karen Harima. I am a personal wardrobe stylist, and I'm also an ambassador for the Stella & Dot family of brands. But tonight it is all about the third piece. So before I get started and just waiting, hi Tamara, thank you so much for watching. You know, if you are watching live, please do a like or let me know you're there. If you watch later on IGTV, I love your comments and enjoy reading them and engaging with you. So please do that. And I just appreciate you being here, whether you are in the Facebook group or on Instagram. So we're going to start talking about the third piece. So I have said for a long time when I refer to jackets or sweaters that a third piece is a woman's best friend, best wardrobe friend, because it hides the flaws that most women continually will point out about themselves. And those top three flaws are upper arms, middle, and hips. So those are typically the three most common that I will hear. And I don't like to focus on women's flaws. And when I work with someone, I'm like, okay, yes, we're going to talk about your assets first. And then we're going to talk about what you don't like, because I'm going to try to hide that and camouflage that. But instead of calling them flaws, I like to call them fit challenges, because we all have them and there are ways to figure out how to work around those. So instead of calling them flaws, I usually refer to it as that. But at the same time, I love what a third piece can do. So now I'm curious, if you are watching either live or later, I would love to hear if you are a top and bottom person only. That means you don't usually have a sweater or a jacket, that you just like tops and bottoms together. There's nothing wrong with that. I am going to encourage you how a third piece can complete the outfit. But I completely get that, because that could be just your style, where you just really enjoy wearing a top and a bottom. It's more in your comfort zone. So I was probably that way. I would have to go back and look at a lot of pictures, but sometimes it's hard for me to think back all those years to my 30s and 20s and 30s. I mean, I'm sure I had sweaters and jackets. I know I liked cardigans back then, but I also knew that I really did a fair amount of just a top and a bottom, t-shirt and a bottom, especially when I was running around when my kids were young. But it was about in my early 40s that I started to gain a lot of weight around my upper middle. Really nowhere else. My upper middle was very frustrating. And so I became really self-conscious. And that's when I coined the term that a jacket or a sweater was my best friend. Didn't have to worry about my arms or my hips. It was that middle, because I really felt like I could cover it. And I can remember the jackets that I wore at the time, because that was a kind of a style change for me at that point. Well, in addition to hiding flaws, I do think that a jacket or a third piece really can complete the outfit. It pulls it all together. Another thing that I hear women will say is like, oh, I really kind of want to wear prints, but I really can't pull it off. I don't like how they look, on me. I feel big, I feel this way. So that third piece can help you transition to a print. And I'm not saying everyone has to wear prints. I mean, we kind of find that out with women of what they feel comfortable with. But if you're wanting to branch out and try to put some prints in, one way is to throw that third piece on, because then you just see a little bit of the print and it subdues it, so to speak. So the other thing, when I think about back to when I was working at Nordstrom and we had a dress code, And some of you have heard me tell this story, but I started at a very smaller store, and we couldn't wear jeans at first, and then we could. And then I moved to a bigger store in downtown Portland where I worked in a department where absolutely, positively no denim. This was really hard for me because I always felt like I, had a complete outfit. I loved those, how a third piece pulled it all together at that point. And so another part of my story is, as a teacher, I'd always had every color of dress pants. And by that point, I was done with dress pants. Now I had black dress pants, but downtown Portland, Nordstrom, I had to wear a lot of dress pants. Now, I liked dresses and skirts as well. That was something I did, but man, I just wanted to wear jeans and a blazer. Well, finally, maybe I was there a year and a half or so, and the store manager said, okay, all stylists can wear jeans if you have a third piece. And I'm like, yes, because I had a closet full of third pieces. And so I was all about that. Now, funny thing, some of the younger gals are like, oh, a third piece. Does that mean I can wear a scarf? Is that my third piece? And it's like, no, scarf doesn't count. Has to be, the full look. So just kind of a funny little aside there. But anyway, I am curious, if you do gravitate towards a third piece, do you feel like, I asked it in my Team Tuesday in my Facebook group, do you feel like you have more, I've asked this before, more sweaters, more jackets, and today's Team Tuesday was, do you feel like you have shorter third pieces or longer pieces when you look at your closet? So I have both. And the yellow sweater, one thing about this yellow sweater, now it is a brighter color, and I know that not a lot of you are completely fond of yellow, especially this bright. I tend to, I kind of laugh about it because I actually really do like yellow, and it's one of the most, when I ask women some of their favorite colors, even before we get into what looks good on them, I often hear no yellow and no orange. And so here I am in this bright yellow, which is kind of the same, could be put in the same category as my green highlighter sweater, which some of you have seen me in, but I like it. And what I really liked about it was the sleeve length. I told you last week how with my short arms, that jackets always have to be cuffed, and that's kind of the trend now anyway. But I love how it just, it has just kind of that fluid movement. I'm going to talk about slits in a minute, but it's comfortable. I feel like it hides a lot. And another thing I didn't really talk about, some women will consider this a flaw and some will not, because I always say when it comes to the size of your chest, you don't like what you have. So women who have a little bit more on top don't want it, and women who don't have it on top want it. So it's always the way it is. So I feel like for me, since I do carry my weight from here to here, a third piece can minimize that and give a different look. So that's one reason that I almost always will have a third piece on. But at the same time, you really have to consider your comfort style, because there's going to be some third pieces that are going to have way too much structure to suit you personally. And when I work with them, and I kind of dig and ask that a little bit, because you don't want to buy a jacket that's just going to sit there and you're not going to wear. So one thing that I pulled out of some of my pieces was, when you are looking for that length, you kind of find that sweet spot. And for me, I have a little bit of flexibility. So I will often, wear something a little bit longer, even though I'm 5'4". But if it gets too close to a sweater or a third piece that's too close to kind of halfway between my knee and my ankle, or kind of veering towards that ankle, it's a little bit long on me. But one of the things I like about this is it has the slits on the side. And I don't know what it is about the slits, but they just make such a difference. Because if you think of, again, if I had something, that was longer, this length, and going all the way around, it would would just have a completely different look. And again, the weight of the fabric makes a difference too. And so really consider that. And I don't know if it's the movement or what it is, but slits are a really good thing, especially when you are shorter. Now, if you feel like you carry your weight in the bottom half, and I hear this a lot, it's like, okay, I don't want a jacket that sits right at my hip because that's where my eye tends to go. So your sweet spot for your length might just be a little bit below the hip, like this would be great. And sometimes a jacket can kind of hug the hip, so a sweater will be a little bit better. And that's just another little tip when you're trying to play up your assets and really downplay what I'm going to say is your fit challenges. This is another, this is like wearing a t-shirt, just a really stretchy jacket. So if you feel like you want a little structure, but you feel too confined in a lot of jackets out there in their fabric, you have to look for something that has a little bit more stretch to it. And stretch, the Ponte knit, and all of the great things, all the great fabrics out there. There's so many choices now that are comfortable. Another question I get, so again, I like a little structure because of how it helps me and my body type, but I will often be asked, okay, does a jacket actually have to button? And for me, I will say no. For some stylists and for some women, that's super important, but the shoulder line is really important to me. And then fit like under the arm and then fit in the back. That's a really important part. I will sometimes grab extra fabric and say, oh, no, we need to go down, or, it's a little tight, it's pulling a little bit there. But I feel like if the jacket is close to meeting, I would never button this jacket anyway. So I just like to be able to pull it in and then it will be very close to buttoning. So that's how I look at it as far as fit. But I realize not everybody is that way. So I think that it's very much personal preference. A bomber jacket, really popular style right now, a little bit shorter. So again, not for everyone, but can be a little bit more of a casual look. And I think that it's a good option to have in your, they can be so lightweight. And so they kind of, again, pull everything together. They can look great with shorts, especially in the summer. We're going to talk about hot weather in just a second. Now this is one, it's a little bit stiffer. Okay, so it's more of that utility type jacket that some of you are going to like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. It just feels like it's too much on, and I get that too. By the way, I really haven't talked about my jewelry, and now that I'm putting a shade of coral on, I absolutely love turquoise with yellow and with coral. And these are actually pieces from last year, but my site has so many great pieces right now in turquoise, and I just think it really adds a lot in the summer. Okay, so this jacket, a little bit more structured. Again, I showed you last week, but I'll kind of do a review. Really pull up those sleeves, and what you can do is you can kind of fold down the cuff, but I showed you how to take this and really roll it up so that it kind of tucks that piece of the cuff in so that you don't have that sticking out. And you can review last week's, but that's really what you want to do with a lot of jacket sleeves now that are longer. I mean, you can cuff it up one time too, but just pull it up, especially for this time of the year. Now, the other thing, a denim jacket, we all have those, they're in different colors, but one thing I really like from J. Crew are these kind of in between a sweater and a jacket. Again, back to my Team Tuesday, you've probably seen, I have shown that I have a longer camel one, and these have a little bit of wool. I know, Tamara, it's so true. Turquoise, also with black and white. I absolutely love it with anything black and white. Just turquoise just pops. So turquoise should be like your good accent color in the summer. I mean, I think everyone should have at least one piece of turquoise, whether it be an earring, a necklace, a bracelet. It just makes such a difference. So These are kind of that cross between a sweater and a jacket, and I just love them. So the one that I have in camel is called the Juliet. This one, for whatever reason, I cannot remember the name of it. And then this length is called the Camille. This one's just a little bit shorter. And again, they're not for every climate because they're a little bit warmer, especially for right now. But when your nights are still cool or winter, they're almost year round in most places. They have just that little touch of wool in it. But this length is great for someone. I mean, this is probably, you know, maybe about 6 to 7 inches below the hip line. So it's a good length. The other one's a little bit shorter. So look for these at J. Crew, but wait until they go on sale because you want to get them at 40% off. And sometimes at the end of the season, they will even go more, but they always have them. So just something to look for. Okay, so what about warmer climates? What if you are in the throes of heat and you're like, okay, Karen, there's no way I'm wearing a third piece. I completely get it. So this is where, again, finding those lighter weight ones, even like this lightweight sweater, to when you go into more heavily air conditioned areas, you want to have that lightweight denim jacket or any jacket, not just a denim jacket, but a lightweight sweater to throw over your shoulders when it can get so chilly. And the other thing that I want to share with you, especially if you live in a warmer climate, I meant to pick one of these up, but I have a style club membership called the Style Society, and I just launched it. And one of my members, she sent me a message with these. She has these lightweight kimonos, and or duster, whatever you want to call them. And she is living in warmer weather right now, and so she had two of those, and she was asking which one I thought looked better. So I sent her a message today and said, I forgot to pick one up to show because I think it's such a great option, and they are longer. They're just a little bit more oversized too, and so I feel like if you don't want something too structured or fitting too close to your hips or your middle or whatever it happens to be, they can be such a good option. So she's going to take some photos for me and send so I can show you some other ways to add a third piece, especially if you live in a warmer climate. All right, so I'm gonna wrap things up. I appreciate you watching again. If you watch on the replay, let me know if you need help with finding the perfect third piece. What I'm gonna be doing is, if you know, I sometimes create what I call the little widget, and it's a whole bunch of options in a link, and you can kind of scroll through it, or you can click on the arrows and you can see all the different ones. I often put them in my blog, but you can also just click on the link, and that will give you some great options for third pieces, and I will definitely be highlighting some of my favorite ones. So let me know if you have any questions. I would love to know and hear your feedback about the third pieces in your closet. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful evening. Next week I'm going to be back. I did a little switching around, but next week I'm going to be back. I did a poll recently and asked women in my Facebook group if how they removed their facial hair, because I had a question from one of my clients, and she said, okay, I've got all this peach fuzz. What do I need to do about it? Well, I know what I have been doing. I have done a little bit more research on it. So next week you will hear all about that. We're going to switch over to skin. So again, thank you everyone. Appreciate you being here, and have a wonderful evening.